truth, their intelligence is not purified. The personified Vedas said that if the yogis and the jnanis do not free themselves from sinful desires, then their particular process of self-realization will never be successful. Dear Lord, the personified Vedas continued, if saintly persons do not take care to eradicate completely the roots of sinful desires, they cannot experience the Supersoul, although he is sitting side by side with the individual soul. Samadhi, or meditation, means that one has to find the Supersoul within himself. One who is not free from sinful reactions cannot see the Supersoul. If a person has a jeweled locket in his necklace but forgets the jewel, it is almost as though he does not possess it. Similarly, if an individual soul meditates but does not actually perceive the presence of the Supersoul within himself, his meditation is useless.
Sri Chaitanya Manopisam Sthapitam Jena Buddhi Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Sthapitam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijanat Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarane He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Horipriye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In the Bhagavad Gita, Chitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahita. One who's self-controlled and whose mind is peaceful can realize the Supersoul automatically. Chitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahita. But that means the mind must be pure. Here, one should get free from all material desires. Anya Bilashata Shunyam Kana Karma Janavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set the example by cleaning the Gundicha Mandir, and the purports explain that his meticulous, thorough cleaning of the temple is the kind of cleaning job we need to do on our hearts. Okay, are there any questions, comments? Okay, carry on.
Persons who have taken to the path of self-realization must therefore be very careful to avoid contamination by the influence of Maya. Srila Rupa Goswami says that a devotee should be completely free from all sorts of material desires. A devotee should not be affected by the results of karma and jnana. One has to simply understand Krishna and carry out his desires. That is the pure devotional stage. The personified Vedas continued. Mystic yogis who still have contaminated desires for sense gratification are never successful in their attempt, nor can they realize the supersoul within the individual self. As such, the so-called yogis and jnanis who are simply wasting their time in different types of sense gratification, either by mental speculation or by exhibition of limited mystic powers, will never be liberated from conditioned life and will continue to go through repeated births and deaths. For such persons, both this life and the next life are sources of tribulation. Such sinful persons are already suffering tribulation in this life, and because they are not perfect in self-realization, they will be plagued with further tribulation in the next life. Despite all endeavors to attain perfection, such yogis, contaminated by desires for sense gratification, will continue to suffer in this life and the next. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that if sannyasis, persons in the renounced order of life, who have left their homes for self-realization, do not engage themselves in the devotional service of the Lord, but become attracted by philanthropic work, such as opening educational institutions, hospitals or even monasteries, churches or temples of demigods, they find only trouble from such engagements, not only in this life but in the next. Sannyasis who do not take advantage of this life to realize Krishna simply waste their time and energy in activities outside the jurisdiction of the renounced order.
There are so-called saintly persons and paramahansas who engage themselves in philanthropic work. They're very prominently known for opening hospitals or educational institutions or other philanthropic projects, but at the same time they're espousing the philosophy that this world is false. So if the world is false, why are they busy trying to make this a better world through philanthropic endeavors? We heard yesterday that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that anyone who wants to reform this world is himself in need of reform. He was consistent. Oh, today? That was this morning. Okay, today itself. Anyone who wants to reform this world is himself instead. That's right, that was a question. Instead of himself in need of reform. But here they say the world is false, and yet they want to engage in philanthropic activities because they have no actual engagement on the transcendental platform. Aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. That's not engagement. They're active. They need to do something, and so they engage because in these mundane activities. Yes.
A devotee's attempt to engage his energies in such activities as constructing a Vishnu temple, however, is never wasted. Such engagements are called Krishnarte Akila Chesa, variegated activities performed to please Krishna. A philanthropist opening a school building and a devotee constructing a temple are not on the same level. Although a philanthropist opening an educational institution may be pious activity, it comes under the laws of karma. Whereas constructing a temple for Vishnu is devotional service.
In the views of the mundane people, philanthropy is so much more important, and they value. They say Manava Seva is Madhava Seva, service to man is service to God, and they value religion only when it's engaged in philanthropic activities. The utilitarians, they take this view that yes, religion is good because they help feed the poor and take care of orphans, and they open hospitals and colleges and so on. So then God is nonsense, but the religion is good because it helps make this a better world. That's their view. Pragmatically, it's all right. But here from Srila Prabhupada, the opposite, that your philanthropic work is basically a waste of time. It's not very important. And you can't compare it to building a temple for Vishnu, which is useless for this world. The Vishnu temple is not going to help students get through college or fix their broken bones or what have you. It's meant for bringing the living entity back to Godhead, which is the ultimate fix for all of his problems. But the materialists, they think that the temporary fix for the temporary problems is more important. And the Mayavadi sannyasis or others who compromise with the materialists engage in such activities also. Although they say, Jagan Mithya, the world is false. Okay.
Devotional service is never within the jurisdiction of the law of karma. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sagunan Samadityatam Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Devotees of the personality of Godhead transcend all the reactions of the three modes of material nature and are situated on the transcendental platform of Brahman realization. The devotees are liberated in both this life and the next. Any work done in this material world for Yajna, Vishnu, or Krishna is considered to be liberated work. But without connection with Achyuta, the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no possibility of stopping the resultant actions of the law of karma.
Karmamapyachyuta bhavavarjitam nashobhate yatra alam vidambanam. Nard Muni told Vyasadeva that Naishkarmya, that activities, even spiritual activities, don't look very good, nashobhate, unless they're connected with the service of Achyuta, the personality of Godhead. Yeah? You can just read it. Oh, okay. I'll take it. Or read it. Yeah. Nashkarma Pitrita Bhavavarjitam Nashobhate Gyanamalam Niranjanam. And they've left out the other half. Okay, but knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of the conception of the infallible God, Achyuta. Bhava can mean, or if it's devoid of, yes, Krishna consciousness. What then is the use of fruitive activities, which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they're not used for the devotional service of the Lord? Even spiritual activities, if not connected with the service of Achyuta, are not very good. And the Shobhate, they don't look well. And so what to speak of material activities, karma kandya activities, painful from beginning to end. Yes.
The life of Krishna consciousness is the life of liberation. The conclusion is that a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, is liberated in both this life and the next, whereas karmis, jnanis, and yogis are never liberated, either in this life or in the next. The personified Vedas continued, Dear Lord, anyone who by your grace has understood the glories of your lotus feet is callous to material happiness and distress. The material pangs are inevitable as long as we exist within the material world, but a devotee does not divert his attention to such actions and reactions, which are the results of pious and impious activities. Nor is a devotee very much disturbed or pleased by praise or condemnation from people in general. A devotee is sometimes greatly praised because of his transcendental activities, and sometimes he is criticized, even though there is no reason for adverse criticism. The pure devotee, however, is always callous to praise or condemnation by ordinary people. Actually, the devotee's activities are on the transcendental plane. He is not interested in the praise or condemnation of people engaged in material activities. If the devotee can thus...
Yeah. Who cares what they think? What is the value of their opinion? To be praised by fools is useless. There's something about that in here, I think. Huh. Yeah, better to hear the rebuke of a wise man than to hear the song of fools. Noting Kohelet's use here of the singular and the plural, one scholar says that a rebuke given by a single wise man is better than a song sung by many fools. Instead of the word song, some translations say praise. Better to be rebuked by someone wise than praised by fools. So we don't mind criticism by those who know what they're talking about, those who are true well-wishers. The spiritual master's criticism of us is very good. It's needed. Prabhupada said it's the duty of the father and the spiritual master to criticize the disciple and the son. It's good for them. So that kind of criticism, we want to hear criticism from those who are wise. But criticism by fools is meaningless. In fact, find that place again. Better to be rebuked by the wise than praised by fools. For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. You know, when the usual fuel in ancient Israel would have been coal or wood, but if you have thorns and you put those under your pot, then they just go. They burn up real quickly. They make a lot of noise, and they don't give you any benefit. They don't have value as fuel. Yeah. So the better to have a sincere and wise critic than a fool who'll praise you. His foolish praise is useless. And similarly, his foolish criticism is useless. He's a fool. So whether he says you're good or he says you're bad, what do we care? To be praised by a fool or criticized by a fool is meaningless. His criticism and his praise are like the crackling of thorns under a pot. Lots of noise and no value. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Tulya Nindatma Sangstutihi Mana Pamanayo Tulyas, in the 12th chapter, that one should be equipoised toward praise and blame, criticism, and Tulya Ninda. Ninda means bad-mouthing, and Samstuti means praise. Mana Pamanayo Tulyas, honor and blame. Honor and dishonor. Devotee should. To be honored by fools is again meaningless. And to be dishonored by fools is also meaningless. What do we care? Okay.
If the devotee can thus maintain his transcendental position, his liberation in this life and the next is guaranteed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee's transcendental position within this material world is maintained in the association of pure devotees, simply by his viewing the glorious activities enacted by the Lord in different ages and in different incarnations. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. Srila Narottama Das Thakur has sung, "My dear Lord, let me be engaged in your transcendental loving service, as indicated by the previous acharyas, and let me die in the association of pure devotees. That is my desire, life after life.
Tandira Chorana Shebi Bhakta Shanibas Joname Hor Janame More Abhilash. Yes. In other words?
In other words, a devotee does not much care whether or not he is liberated. He is eager only for devotional service. Devotional service means that one does not do anything independently of the sanction of the acharyas. The actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are directed by the previous acharyas, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami, in the association of devotees following these principles. A devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position.
Dandara Bhakta Shanivas, therefore one should always stay in the association of devotees. In the association of devotees following these principles, the devotee is able to maintain his transcendental position. So therefore we should stay in the association of devotees who are following these principles, not just the association of, in quotes, devotees. Devotees who are smoking, drinking, woman hunting, not following. Devotees who are devotees, but their behavior is not to the standard. We should stay in the association of devotees who are seriously following the path of the acharyas. Janame More Abhilash. We should want to serve the devotees. So that's crucial, to stay in the association of good devotees. Yes.
In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that a devotee knows him perfectly is very dear to him. 4 kinds of pious men take to devotional service. If a pious man is in distress, he approaches the Lord for mitigation of his distress. If a pious man is in need of material help, he prays to the Lord for such help. If a pious man is actually inquisitive about the science of God, he approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Similarly, a pious man who is simply eager to know the science of Krishna also approaches the Supreme Lord. Out of these 4 classes of men, the last is praised by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. A person who tries to understand Krishna with full knowledge and devotion by following the footsteps of previous acharyas, conversant with scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord, is praiseworthy. Such a devotee can understand that all conditions of life, favorable and unfavorable, are created by the supreme will of the Lord. And when he has fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he does not care whether his condition of life is favorable or unfavorable. A devotee takes even an unfavorable condition to be the special favor of the personality of Godhead. Actually, there are no unfavorable conditions for a devotee. Knowing that everything is coming by the will of the Lord, he sees every condition as favorable.
Yeah. Finish the sentence.
And in any condition of life, he is simply enthusiastic to discharge his devotional service.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada said the devotees are like expert stock traders, share traders. When the market goes up or the market goes down, either way, it's good for the share trader. When the market goes up, he sells and makes a profit. And when the market goes down, he buys cheap. So either way, it's favorable. Either way, it's favorable. So the devotee, when there's a so-called favorable circumstance, very nice, will use that to serve Krishna. And when there's an unfavorable circumstance, well, that's good. That's another opportunity for becoming purified and making progress in Krishna consciousness.
This devotional attitude is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is never distressed in reverse conditions of life, nor is he overjoyed in favorable conditions. In the higher stages of devotional service, the devotee
Naprarished priyam prapya, nodvijed prapya cha priyam, stira buddhir samudho brahmavid brahmanistata. The naprarished priyam prapya. He doesn't become overjoyed when he obtains something that he likes, something nice. Nodvijay prapya cha priyam. And he's not disturbed when he obtains something that he doesn't like. Nodvijay prapya cha priyam. Stira buddhira samudho. He's steady in his intelligence. Stira buddhi asamudho, and he's not bewildered. Brahmavid, because he knows the absolute truth, he knows Krishna. Brahmanistata, and therefore he's situated on the transcendental platform in Krishna consciousness. Okay.
In the higher stages of devotional service, a devotee is not even concerned with the list of do's and do-nots. Such a position can be maintained only by following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Because a pure devotee follows in the footsteps of the acharyas, any action he performs to discharge devotional service should be understood to be on the transcendental platform.
Yes. We discussed this yesterday, that whatever the devotee does is perfect because it's he's guided from it's prompted from within by the super soul and confirmed by the spiritual master. So the acharyas, or the pure devotees, are guided by the previous acharyas. They're following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, and therefore whatever they do should be understood to be transcendental. Yes.
Lord Krishna therefore instructs us that an acharya is above criticism. A neophyte devotee should not consider himself to be on the same plane as the acharya. It should be accepted that the acharyas are on the same platform as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such neither Krishna nor his representative acharya should be subjected to any adverse criticism by the neophyte devotees.
I think we can detect, well, in historical context, there's a, what should we say? There's a subtext or an informative narrative that Srila Prabhupada, while conducting the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement, was for quite some time criticized by his godbrothers. Why are they calling him Prabhupada? Why is he carrying? Someone criticized. There was a picture of Prabhupada with a tall danda. Someone wanted to take a picture, so he borrowed a danda from, Prabhupada borrowed a danda from one of his sannyasi disciples. And then some godbrother criticized that, just see, he's carrying this big danda, so he must be very proud. And in other ways also, they tried to minimize or criticize Srila Prabhupada's activities. Not all, but it was quite something that they wouldn't assist, they wouldn't help, they wouldn't give credit, they would only criticize. So my guess, educated guess, is that Srila Prabhupada had them in mind. Prabhupada was an empowered acharya. Krishna bina, what is that? Krishna Shakti bina nahitar pravartam. Without being empowered by Krishna, no one can spread Krishna consciousness movement like that all over the world. So they should have recognized that here's an empowered acharya. But instead, some criticized. So they would be the neophyte devotees, needlessly criticizing the acharyas. Any others who criticized Prabhupada? Well, there were devotees who left because they saw some fault in Prabhupada. They were neophytes, and they thought, oh, Prabhupada's not teaching the highest thing, or Prabhupada's this, or Prabhupada, they had their own notion of their own judgment. And so they also fell down. Or it can be taken more generally. Oh, we saw that also, that neophyte ISKCON devotees criticized specifically Srila B.R. Sridhar Maharaj quite, rudely, quite rudely. And then they fell down. One should avoid sadhu ninda, and especially criticism of advanced devotees. But sometimes we see that ISKCON devotees brashly criticize Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers or other Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That's risky business. One time, Prabhupada's secretary at the time, Jayadvaita Swami, who was picking up on things that Prabhupada had said. He said, how can your godbrothers be such rascals? How can these godbrothers be such rascals? And Prabhupada looked at him, angrily. You have said the wrong thing. My Guru Maharaj never had any disciples who were rascals. And he said, I can call them rascals, but you cannot. I can call them rascals, but you cannot. But sometimes we think that because we're following Prabhupada, we somehow have, like on 007, a license to kill. We can go out there and tell it like it is about any of Prabhupada's godbrothers or senior Gaudiya Vaishnavas who've been practicing since before we were born. And we think that we're really hot stuff, because we've identified them as Mayavadis or Sahajiyas or, whatever it is that we neophyte devotees think they are. One doesn't get appreciation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead for criticizing his devotees. But someone was remarking the other day, maybe it was Hari Parshad Prabhu, that we're that offense, sadhu ninda, is translated to criticize the devotees who've dedicated their lives to spreading the holy name of the Lord. We're trying to chant the holy name of the Lord, and at the same time criticizing the devotees who are giving people the holy name. So how does that look in the eyes of Krishna? You're chanting my holy name and criticizing my empowered representatives who are spreading the holy name. So how do you expect to get the benefit of chanting Hare Krishna while you're criticizing the devotees who are spreading the chanting of Hare Krishna? So we should note this point. And particularly criticizing senior devotees, advanced devotees who've done heaps of service, just to call them out, because we know that they're this, we know that they're that, we know that they're this, to bring them under our judgment is not wise. Anything on that? It doesn't mean, by the way, that if something is grossly wrong, we just roll over and play dead. But we should be very careful about criticizing advanced devotees.
Krishna. Maharaj, you just quoted that shloka, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi. So, can we say generally for other devotees of ISKCON also, like whoever is able to preach to more people, then he is empowered?
That's understood. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Prabhupada quotes as saying you can see the advancement of a Vaishnava by how he's made other Vaishnavas. So, of course, it's not just like, what's the word, a guarantee of perfection and purity. I've made 50 devotees or 100 devotees or 300 devotees, so I must be empowered and I'll never fall down, and Krishna is always blah blah blah. We shouldn't puff ourselves up because we've accomplished something. The devotee, pure devotee, doesn't think I'm accomplishing so much. He thinks that the credit goes to my Guru Maharaj, the credit goes to Krishna, the credit goes to the Vaishnavas, not that I'm so great. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So we should not puff ourselves up, but seeing the accomplishments of other devotees, we should be respectful. This person has done this, this person has done that. They've done some service for the mission of the spiritual master. So that should be respected, not that we just, yeah. It's rude, uncultured, ignorant of, or negligent of the spiritual teachings that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. It's just a sign of a rude person to get up on Facebook and start going, yeah. It means that person is in spiritual problems. And yes, those who are more experienced will be very careful and not needlessly broadcast the faults of devotees. Something may, especially when you're in management, something may be wrong, something may have to be done. We heard yesterday about the devotees in New York who saw that this supposed heiress to the Toyota Foundation was not what she was supposed to be, and who objected. And Prabhupada said they were real devotees they couldn't tolerate. So it doesn't mean that we have to be blind, that we have to be fools, that we have to put up with any kind of nonsense in the name of institutional loyalty or in the name of respecting devotees. But we should be very, very careful about criticizing anyone who's done service. There's one example that comes to mind. There was one devotee. He was the temple president of Detroit. And under his leadership, the Ambrish Prabhu and Lekha Shrimanti Devi had purchased that mansion for our temple in Detroit. And sometime afterwards, the devotees in the temple were dissatisfied. They considered the temple president's personal sadhana to be lacking. How could he be president if he's not chanting his rounds, if he's not doing this or that? And so they had a meeting and a vote, and they replaced him with another devotee. And when Srila Prabhupada came there, I don't think it was by mail, I think it was when he came there, he objected. Where's this devotee? Why has he been replaced? Prabhupada, he wasn't chanting his rounds. How do you know? Are you chanting your rounds? Prabhupada, he's doing whatever they said. Prabhupada wouldn't buy it. He didn't want to hear it. He said he has gotten this temple, and now he has gone away disappointed. The Prabhupada reversed all their decisions, reinstated him. So Prabhupada gave credit, or took into account, this person has done service. And he counted that more even than the judgments of the devotees that he's not doing this, he's not doing that. Yes.
Maharaj, just now, like in the previous paragraph, it was 4 categories of those people were mentioned. Like, so can you elaborate the difference between the third and the fourth?
Artartarti Jigyasu Gyani. Jigyasu is a curious person. What are these people doing? Why are they chanting? What is this that they're singing? Why are they dressed like this? Are they from India, or are they from China, or what are they doing? Maybe they're interested. They've got some books. What are those books? They're curious. They're curious. They're inquisitive. They have inquisitive minds. What is this all about? Not just superficial, maybe just superficial, but they may be inquisitive. What are they teaching? What is this about? Can I learn something here? They're inquisitive. Jigyasu. Jigyasu means inquisitive. And Gyani means that he has knowledge, or that he's seriously situated on the path of getting spiritual knowledge. Gyani-cha. He's not just curious, he's serious about getting true knowledge, understanding the truth. Gyani. And he may also know so much. He may know that I'm not this body. He may know that he's spirit soul. He may know that there's an absolute truth. He may or may not. He may know more or less. Some know more, some know less. but he's situated in some kind of knowledge, not just curious. Arta artarti jigyasu gyanija. Prabhupada said the two, arta and artarti, those who are distressed or those who are looking for money and help with financial problems, are in the lower stage. And jigyasu and gyani, they're in the higher stage. And as mentioned here, gyani atmaiva mematam. What is that? Artartarti jigyasu gyanicha paratarshava. Tehi can yartamaham satramama priya. Udara sarva evaite gyani atmaiva mematam. Let's find it. Tesham, among these four classes of people, Tesham Gyani Nitya Yukta Ekabhaktir Vishishyate. The Gyani is Nitya Yukta. It's always engaged. Ekabhaktir. He's dedicated to this. I don't know how in the book how Prabhupada translates it or what his word for word is. But Ekabhaktir, he's devoted to understanding the truth. Nitya Yukta, always engaged in that. So Vishishyate, he's special. Priyohi Gyanino Atiyartam. Aham Sacha Mama Priya. He's how does Prabhupada translate it? He's like, he's dear to me and I'm dear to him, like that. 7:16. Yeah, exactly. I am very dear to him and he's dear to me. And Prabhupada translates Ekabhaktir as Nityayukta Ekabhaktir as engaged only in devotional service, always engaged in pure devotional service. That's
so he's already engaged?
Prabhupada says, out of them, one who's in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. By searching after knowledge, one realizes his self is different from the material body. When further advanced, he comes to knowledge of impersonal Brahma and Paramatma. When fully purified, he realizes that his constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. So, by association with pure devotees, the inquisitive, the distressed, the seeker after material amelioration, and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who's in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord and is at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. He who is situated in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so protected in devotional service that material contamination cannot touch him. So here, I'm sure there are different ways of taking this, who the Gyani is. Here, Prabhupada says the Gyani is the person who's engaged purely in devotional service. he comes with that. He may be a newcomer, but he's come to serve. He has some knowledge that Krishna is God, I should serve him. Or one may take it that he's dedicated to the absolute truth without exactly understanding what the absolute truth is. But he's dedicated, and so he comes to Krishna. Prabhupada says that he's when further advanced, he comes to knowledge of impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, after understanding that he's not the body. And then by association, he comes to pure devotional service. So basically, he's on a higher platform than those who are just looking for help with some trouble or some financial help, or just curious. He's serious about understanding or serving the Supreme. Udara sarva evaite. All of these are broad-minded people, all four of them. But Gyani tu atmaiva me matam. Gyani tu atma evam me matam. The Gyani I consider to be just like my own self. I consider him to be just like my own self. Astita sahiyuktatma mami vanu tamam gatin. Situated in Krishna consciousness, yuktatma, he attains the supreme transcendental goal. Being engaged, So this is the Gyani. The Gyani is the person who comes basically. Sometimes people come, they're newcomers, but right away they take to devotional service. They're not. Some people they're coming for. They're in distress, and they come and they get out of distress and they go. They go again. There's some couplet by one well-known Hindi poet where he says that everyone comes and serves Hari when they're in distress, and then once they're out of distress, everybody goes again. I don't remember the couplet. Maybe somebody knows it. Oh, behind you?
दुख में सिमरन सब करे सुख में सिमरन करे ना कोई.
Yes.
Yes, दुख में सिमरन सब करे सुख में सिमरन करे ना कोई.
Tell it again, the whole thing.
दुख में सिमरन सब करे सुख में सिमरन करे ना कोई.
When everyone
सुख में सिमरन करे उसको दुख काहे को है.
That when things are going well, when things are going badly, everyone's a devotee of God. And when things are going well, nobody's a devotee of God. That's basically it, right? When they're happy, they forget God. And when they're in misery, oh God, please help me. So Artha, the person in distress, that's his position. He has mixed motives. When his distress is over, he may just very well leave. Or he may stay by good association. And Artarti, the person who's in financial trouble, same story. He's praying to God for solving his economic problem. So he may also come and go, or he may come. He finds, oh, ISKCON, there's a lot of money floating around in ISKCON. I can solve not only can I solve my economic problems, I can become a rich man. I just have to do this and that. And so he becomes a wealthy devotee by, parasitical behavior, whether it's embezzlement or, this way or that way. some so-called business. He takes advantage. Oh, this guy's very nice. So he gets money, but he doesn't get pure devotional service. And then the third person is curious. So he's in a better position. He wants to know, what is this? What are they teaching? And best is the person who's he wants to dedicate himself. He's already understood that Krishna is God, or he's already understood that there's an absolute truth to which he has to dedicate himself. Actually, the way Prabhupada takes it, he's already understood that Krishna is God. All right, now what do? Let me serve. So he may be a neophyte, he's not trained, he doesn't have a spiritual master, but he's attracted. Let me join the chanting, let me take up the practice, let me do some service. So Krishna says he's just like my own self. Krishna appreciates, as Prabhupada said, praises the Jnani, not the impersonalist who's denying the personality of Godhead, but Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, the person who has real knowledge.
Maharaj, this Artharthi, you just explained that but isn't it like Artharthi also depends on...
You're just decorating your body with the microphone.
So Artharthi, isn't it, he also depends on mercy of Krishna, not the external organizational structure to be rich, but...
Artharthis are, they're fickle characters. When what is that? Daridra Nashi, Gunarashi Nashi. Chanakya Pandit. When a person's poor, he loses all good qualities. He'll do anything. What is that? Sarvashunya Daridrata. He'll do anything. So he'll become a devotee. He'll become a devotee, and now he's getting his rice dal and chapatis, and he has a place to stay. All right, so I do some service, I get some food, it's very good. Or he has some other plan. I'll get a green card, I'll go to America, I'll get money, I'll send it back to my family. Realize I can not only solve my economic problem in a small way, I can really go somewhere. Or he starts some business, he embezzles money, gets his hand in the hundi, basically. Embezzles money. Or he starts some business with tricky dealings for taking advantage of the other Vaishnavas. All sorts of things go on. So it's not just that because he's looking for money, he's realized Krishna is God, he can give me money. That's also there. He may realize when I'm in distress, financial distress, God can solve my problem. That was Dhruva Maharaj's position. I want to get something, profit. And what I want, only Krishna can give me. Only God can give me. So let me approach God. So that's the general idea. But it's also true that people may not be so pure in their motives. These are mixed devotees, after all. Artharthi. They're not coming with a desire to render pure devotional service. They're looking to solve their problems, their own problems. So as part of that problem solving, they may in different ways have this plan or that scheme for meeting their own, satisfying their own interests. They're not a pure devotee. He has no other desire. He just wants to serve Krishna. He'll go through any amount of trouble without consideration for the service of Krishna. But these mixed devotees, they come with their own motives. Sometimes they're just looking for a place to stay, and they don't really want to do much service, but they'll clock in as much service as they have to do to keep the roof over their heads, or they'll present the appearance of doing something so that they can keep the roof, or they'll actually do something. But their motive is, let me live, have some arrangement for my living, some food, some place to stay. And Prabhupada was very cautious that we should not fill our temples with such people, particularly here in India. Now they've become more serious. The management has become more serious. But in earlier days, any nonsense villager who, wanted to join ISKCON would find that it was like entering paradise. You'd eat nicely, you'd have a nice place to stay, you'd have, all facilities. But they weren't very serious about devotional service, and may not even have been very capable of understanding devotional service. So mixed motives. So by the association of devotees, even a person with mixed motives may become purified. And therefore Krishna says, Sukritina Arjuna, these are pious people. Even if he came for a mixed motive, he came to Krishna. He could have gone to the government, or he could have gone to some welfare agency, or he could have robbed a bank, or he could have done, anything to solve his economic problem. But somehow he approached Krishna. So Krishna says, Sukritina. He's a pious person. He's a pious person because he's come to me. So that beginning, we recognize, yes, he has some mixed motives. But because he's come to Krishna, now if that circumstance is properly handled, he can become a pure devotee, as Dhruva Maharaj did. Swaman Katartosmi Param Nayache. He underwent so much trouble to get the fulfillment of his desires, but then when he saw Narayan, the personality of Godhead, yes, what would you like? No, I don't want anything. I just want to serve you. So that's the advantage, that even though these people are neophytes and we've sort of spoken ill of their mixed motives and so on, but if they're handled properly, they can go from being mixed or materialistic devotees to becoming pure devotees. So that requires expert handling. Or from another point of view, it requires good association. If they get good association, they can also become pure devotees. But the Jnani is much more advanced than the person who's just coming because he doesn't have any paisa in his pocket. He's much more advanced. He's not looking for money. He's not looking to solve a problem other than the problem of how do I serve. Yes.
Maharaj, what are the qualities of an acharya? Like when a devotee or pure devotee can be designated as an acharya?
Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Or acharya. Hare Krishna. You're in the wrong place doing the wrong thing, Prabhu. Prabhuji? No. Thank you. Acharya Bhakti Samkshana in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, explaining why Advaita Acharya is called Acharya, Bhakti Sankshana, because he's spreading bhakti. That's the business of the Acharya, that his life is for spreading bhakti. By his actions and by the Acharya comes from Achar. Achar means behavior. So by his own behavior, Apani Atri Prabhu Jivare Shikaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set the example. He took the position of a devotee and taught how to serve Krishna. So this is what the acharyas do. They teach how to serve Krishna. How do they teach? By their own example. You see the life of the acharya. What is that life? It's a life of service to Krishna. The life of service to Krishna. There are other people, they're karmi acharyas, gani acharyas, their life is, they're great examples of success in business. They're great examples of mental speculation or scientific research, or they're great examples of tapasya and self-discipline. Or they're great examples of philanthropists, karma Gandhis, great philanthropists. Their life is dedicated for the service of the community or the service of mankind or whatever. But Acharya Bhakti Sankshana, the real Acharya is the person whose life is dedicated to spreading the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. Is that okay? And who teaches by his own example.
Hare Krishna. Continuing on from that, are they automatically empowered or do they pray for empowerment?
Somehow or other, they're empowered. Whether it's automatic or whether they pray or whatever it is, how they become empowered, that's another story. But they're empowered. And we see that they're by their actions. Krishna she tomar, Krishna dite para tomara shokati yache. Krishna is theirs, and they can give Krishna to others. Krishna she tomar, Krishna dite para tomara shokati yache. This is their power. Expert help is on its way. Okay. Press the button.
Hare Krishna. Nelson. My question is, what determines the speed that we are progressing in bhakti? What kind of factors are important? Because you see, maybe some person is practicing 10 years, another person is practicing 10 years, but the advancement that they make might not be the same.
What determines how advanced one becomes, or how quickly one advances?
The speed
of his advancement. Someone seems to advance very quickly, someone more slowly. So what's responsible for that? One thing is, it may be his own past credit. Prabhupada mentions somewhere that for one has like a bank balance of previous credit and devotional service from the previous life, he's following the rules and regulations becomes very easy for him. He takes to it naturally. Right away, he's like, from the very beginning, he jumps in and he's right with the program, and chanting and serving, and so that means in previous lifetimes he's already advanced. Now he's picking it up. Purvadehikam. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Bhavate Purvadehikam. He automatically becomes avashap, helplessly attracted, automatically attracted, and picks up where he left off. And someone else, left off at 30%, but he left off at 80% in the previous life. So the 80% man is going to be more advanced from the beginning because he's got that, previous bank balance. That's one reason, one thing. Another thing is how seriously he takes to the process. That may also have to do with his previous background. But anyone, if by the association of devotees he takes to the process seriously, even though he may be a newcomer, he'll make more rapid advancement than the person who's, well, I don't know, and yeah, and sometimes, and I'll try, and let's see, and he's kind of lukewarm, and so if Prabhupada gave the example of you hold a pot this high off the stove, it'll cook, but not the same as being down here. If you put your pot right on the fire, it's going to cook quickly. If you put the higher above the fire you put it, the more slowly it's going to cook. So those who put themselves right in the fire of devotional service, following the process, associating with devotees, rendering service, they'll make quick advancement, regardless of their background. And those who are sort of non-committal or not so serious about following, it'll be slower. They'll still make some progress because they're doing something, but it won't be as quick as the person who's very seriously following. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, just if the spiritual master likes you, that's enough. Prabhupada said, my spiritual master liked me, that's all. We find in the description of Narad Muni's association with the Bhaktivedanta, they liked him, that's all. He's a very nice boy. He's not crazy after sports. He's very humble and meek, and he doesn't speak unnecessarily. A nice boy. So they gave him their blessings, and he became Narad Muni. Bruyu snigdhasya shishyasya guruve gurumapyata. About Sutta Goswami, the Naimisharanya sages said, that because you're very humble and meek, your gurus have given you all the secrets reserved for a submissive disciple. So mercy, if one gets the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the mercy of the Guru, then mukam karoti vachalam pangur langayate kiryam yat kripa tamang bande Shri Guru Dinatar. By the mercy of the spiritual master, the lame man can jump over a mountain, and a man who can't speak can speak like Demosthenes, I think Prabhupada said, a famous Greek orator. Yat kripa. Tat kripa tamam, by the mercy of the spiritual master. Yahara prasade by e bhavataya Krishna prapti oy. One can get everything by the mercy of the spiritual master. Time is up. We can end here. Who's leading kirtan this evening? No more questions. Sorry, tomorrow come. Well.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,